What's up, guys? Welcome back to ManCave Collectible Reviews, coming at you today with another figure review. Today we've got a brand new figure from the Masterverse line. This is Mattel's Master Universe Revelation line based on the TV show. So today they're bringing us a fan favorite in the form of Trapjaw. Let's jump right into this thing. Taking a look at the packaging, we've got our Revelation branding down here at the bottom. Trapjaw, a little Mattel branding there in the bottom right corner. Netflix showing off a little branding as well, 30 points of articulation, and then obviously a huge window here, which we can see the figure and pretty much all of his accessories that he comes with. As we spin around to the side, we got an image here, kind of a promotional piece with kind of that comic book Revelation style artwork. Spinning on around to the back, a continuation of that artwork, a little write-up on Trapjaw. You can pause it and read that if you wish. We've also got some of the other figures that have recently been released in the Revelation line. Savage He-Man, Tila, Andra, I'm not sure, I can't remember how they pronounce that in the show. Trapjaw, obviously a Faker figure. Merman, who I'm not real happy with that. I hope they kind of do what they're doing with Beastman and go back and give us a little more of a classic look of Merman. I'm sure they will. And then the Stinkor, which I think is a fantastic looking figure, which we've recently picked up also. And then on the opposite end, we pretty much just have Trapjaw's name, evil and armed for combat on this side. Let's go ahead and crack this guy out of his packaging and see what we got. All right, guys, so we got Trapjaw out of our packaging. We're going to take a quick look at the accessories that he comes with. So the first thing we'll talk about is the garb that he was wearing in the show. When we first saw him, they were worshiping the motherboard, him and Tri-Klops, and they were kind of part or leaders of this cult that had formed. So we did get a soft goods cloth kind of undershirt here. So this kind of goes over the top of the garb that you saw him wearing in the show. We'll look at that here in just a second. It is just a Velcro piece, Velcro's up the back. So you just slide that over the arms, and then you'll drop this soft plastic piece down over the top of that. So it'd be pretty easy. You're going to pop the head off, drop this down over the top of that. Should look pretty nicely. We're going to do that here in just a few minutes. And then to kind of complete that out, you get a specific belt that goes with that cult garb that he has on. Soft plastic, peg and peg hole, pegs in the back. Now, you couldn't have a Trapjaw figure without him having some additional attachments for the cybernetic arm that he has here. So we've got one here. It looks kind of like a little claw. Pretty cool. Has a peg hole there in it. Nicely painted silver there on the end. This is just molded plastic here for the peg hole piece. And then you've got a hook. Hook's painted in silver, and again, molded plastic there for the end. A nice gray molded plastic, though. It does look good. And then the last accessory we get is just an open hand, kind of relaxed hand here. This would be for his left arm, and it is just blue molded plastic. So let's take a quick look, an up-close look here at our Trapjaw figure. So we'll bring him in close, taking a good look at that face there. So we kind of divert a little bit away from the traditional Trapjaw look. You know, in the Classics line, this was basically his bottom jaw. We can see here that he does have a bottom jaw. Has a very lizard look to it. Kind of that tongue in there has a very lizard look to his tongue, as well as even just the face itself. It definitely gives off kind of a lizard vibe. Mine has a little bit of QC, little red paint or pink paint. Got there on the cheek, but overall looks pretty good. The eyes are painted well. This jaw is articulated, so if you wanted to bring that up and kind of cover that lower jaw to give it a little more of that traditional look, you can do that. Soft plastic here for the hook on top. Some nice silver accenting painted on the helmet area there. Coming on down, I do believe this looks like this is probably painted, but the arms look like they're molded plastic. It's a little bit of different blue between the chest and the arm actually there. Looks good, doesn't look bad, but is definitely a different shade of blue between the two. The cybernetic parts of him look fantastically painted. They do look like, especially here on the chest, it looks like it has kind of a gunmetal gray or silver there. Now this out here, this arm actually looks more like molded plastic. So again, a little bit of a difference. I think that is showing up on camera. A little difference here between the chest plate and the arm itself. This has a little more of a glossy, kind of shiny finish to it. This is much more of a matte finish. And again, I think that's due to this being the molded plastic piece. Coming on down, traditional belt, kind of what we're used to seeing there. The loincloth dropping down. This has been reused a lot in the Masterverse line, pretty much on almost every figure probably. Obviously, we got all the neon greens, the bright greens there, which we would traditionally see with Tri-Klops. Looks really good. They really have a very large kind of knee armor piece here, much larger than we're probably used to seeing if you're used to the Classics line or the Classics, the Origin line, or even just the original vintage Trapjaw figure. They really went all out on the armor here in the knee area. But all this looks really good, painted in black and kind of that gunmetal silver that we saw up here. So it looks good all the way down. Got some, again, more gunmetal gray and silver kind of painted throughout the boot area. And then flipping on around to the back. This belt will just come off when we go to put on the cult wardrobe. We'll just pull this belt off, pops off the same way, just a peg hole and a peg there. Let's go ahead, let's do a swap out. We'll put on his cult wardrobe and see what we got there. All right, so here we have him in the cult wardrobe, and it just looks phenomenal. It really does. I reviewed the Tri-Klops on the channel as well. If you've not seen that review, you can go back and check that out. Tri-Klops looked amazing. He looked extremely screen accurate. I wasn't a big fan of this part of the show, but I cannot deny what Mattel has done as far as really nailing that look here. So if you're a big fan of this, I've talked to a lot of folks, even in the comment section when we talk about these figures. A lot of folks have bought 2 of these, be able to pose them both ways, or at least for the Tri-Klops figure, that's what I was hearing a lot of. I'm sure this guy's going to be very similar to that. I even saw some folks say they would buy an additional He-Man figure and use it as the extra Tri-Klops, because the Tri-Klops did come with a second head. He had 2 head sculpts where Trapjaw only has the 1. So you would probably need to buy 2 Trapjaw figures. In this case, can't really sub out another character in order just to put on, the cult clothing. But just a fantastic job they did here. The belt fits on perfect. This is a soft plastic. It really lays right on the body of the figure, no problem. The cloth goods thing here, well, I kind of broke that open a little bit. You can see that sticking out. But that Velcros together very nicely back here behind this soft plastic piece. And there is a certain way it needs to go on. You can see here where the collar kind of comes down to a V here on this side. So you want to make sure that's facing toward the front. But yeah, just a really, really nice addition to this figure. My guess is we will still get this figure in an even more traditional look. I would think we would get a more traditional head sculpt. There's not a whole lot of retooling that would have to be done here to give us more of that classic vibe, but I do believe we would get that in time, kind of the same way they're already doing like with the Beastman figure. Let's go ahead, we'll get him out of the cult clothing and we'll do some swap outs on some of the accessories here. We'll do some size comparison and we'll wrap our video up. All right, so here we got a swap out here on his weapon arm. You can also see here that on his belt, he does have a place to port these accessories. So each of the accessories or weapons, have these little, the little hook here on them. So you can actually just port those right into his belt, into those belt loops, and stores accessories on there. So it definitely adds to the beefiness of him. You kind of can't get those arms really in a real comfortable position. He kind of has to walk around, with the big body look, so that the arms aren't messing with him. But definitely an option if that's something you want to do. I'll probably store mine in a plastic bag like I do most of the extra accessories, just to kind of give him that clean look. But definitely an option there if that's something you're into. And then the last accessory we got there is the hook hand. Looks really nice. Again, I don't know which one of these I'm going to go with. Probably the gun accessory. I just think that's the more traditional look, that I would like to go for. It's just a good looking accessory overall. So we'll probably go with the gun. But, you got 3 really cool accessories to choose from. Let's go ahead. We're going to run through the articulation on this guy. It is your standard Revelation action figure line articulation. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. If you watched my review videos before, you already know. This jaw is very articulated, way down, all the way up to where it's almost touching the top of his helmet there. As far as his head, we can get it around pretty much anything you want to do. Looking up a little bit, really good articulation there. I will tell you straight out of packaging, the articulation on this guy is smooth, silky smooth. I have no complaints there. Get that arm up to there. We do have a swivel in the shoulder, a swivel in the bicep. We have double jointed elbows. However, it's not going to happen because of this big gauntlet here on his wrist. So that is going to hinder that articulation, but you do have the double joints there. On the mechanical arm, you've got a single joint. We're only getting a 90 degrees there. However, you still can get up pretty good, but the articulation is definitely different between the 2 arms. As far as in the chest here, we do have a crunch. You can see that's crunching forward and backwards slightly. That will swivel slightly, not full 360, but we do have a nice spin there in the lower abdominal area. No crunch there. We can get the splits out to about right there. We do have a cut in the upper thigh. We've got double jointed knees that give you plenty of range of motion. There is a swivel in the upper calf, kind of behind all this knee armor there. And then your standard articulation, forward, back, ankle rockers, toe pivot, you got it all there. Actually, we don't really have toe because there's no toe articulation, but you do have your rockers. Standard to what you would see in Marvel Legends and now in the Revelation line. So let me grab a couple other figures for us to do some size comparisons with. We'll wrap up this video. All right, so first we'll start out with the Origins Trapjaw and a 6-inch retro carded Spider-Man from the Marvel Legends line. So you can see he is a 7-inch action figure. Neither one of these are based on a 7-inch scale. Origins is more on a 5-inch scale. Marvel Legends is about 6 inches. So you can see he's much bigger than both of these figure lines. However, you definitely can see, how that original classic look has really been ported over into the Revelations line, all the way down to the cybernetic arm. The blues are obviously darker, but you got those bright greens in there. That's definitely kind of a standard for Trapjaw. Let's bring in a few other characters. All right, so here we go. We've got the Masterverse Duncan, or Man-at-Arms. You can see that the Masterverse line, really for the most part, we've not seen them step out of the box as far as much difference in scale. Pretty much all their figures across the board in Masterverse, outside of like your Battle Cat figure, have more or less been the same size. Now, I think there probably is a lot of parts reuse amongst them, and that's why it is the way it is. But I really want to see Masterverse kind of step outside those boundaries and really give us some different scaled figures. For example, the Beastman, I feel like he should be a little bit bigger. So we'll see kind of how that compares when the newest Beastman comes out. I did pass on the first iteration of Beastman, as I'm really kind of going for that more classic look as I'm picking these figures up. However, we do have a Mattel Classics figure, He-Man, here, which is obviously a very popular and sought after figure. I believe you can intermingle these with no problem because that is a 7-inch figure line. We definitely saw a lot of differences in scale in the Classics line. They had a lot of bigger figures and regular figures at the 7-inch scale as well. So I'm hoping Masterverse is going to kind of go that same path as it continues to grow and the popularity grows for it. But I certainly will say the Classics and the Revelation Masterverse line, they are fully interchangeable in my opinion at this point. But you can let me know down in the comments what you think. Would you be willing to mix and mingle your Classics and your Masterverse figures? So guys, that is it for this review. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of this figure. Have you found it yet? I know this is pretty early on in the hunt game for this one. I was lucky enough to find it at one of the local toy shops. So drop those comments down below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this review. It definitely helps out the channel. Also, you can get your figures over at Big Bad Toy Store. There is a link down in my description in which you can go and pre-order these figures from Masterverse. Using that link also helps the channel out as well. And lastly, hit that subscribe button if you've not already subscribed to the channel. We are well on our way to 8,000 subs. Guys, I appreciate you. I appreciate the support. Until next time.